Come on, Bones, what's the mystery? His brain is gone.
Hey, it's Janelle Waz, and welcome back to another episode of Treknalysis. Aliens steal Spock's brain, there's a planet of women terrorizing men, and Shatner rolls on the floor for a couple of minutes. I smell an Emmy winner.
How does Spock's brain fit into this?
The infamous Star Trek episode Spock's Brain. The episode considered to be one of the worst episodes in the show. But you all know me, I'm a glutton for punishment, so of course I'm gonna rewatch Spock's Brain and make a video about it. You kidding me? As with favorites like Shades of Grey, Move Along Home, and Threshold, I'm here to answer the question, is Spock's brain really that bad? Is there anything that redeems it, or is it really as bad as everyone says it is? And most importantly,
brain, what is brain?
But before I go further, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I talk a lot about Star Trek, video games, and whatever else I feel like talking about. And if you'd like to help support the channel, consider becoming a member. Be great to have you aboard. A weird ship is trailing the Enterprise as the crew is watching some TV.
I would dance and be merry, life would be a ding-a-dairy if I only had a brain.
Weirdly enough, Red Alert has been called, but everyone looks strangely calm. I mean, some weird ship is following them, and all Scotty can say is,
Isn't she a beauty?
Really, Scotty? We know nothing about that ship. For all we know, it could have some hot chick who beams on board, knocks everyone out, and steals Spock's brain.
Friend.
His brain is gone.
See, what did I tell you? After regaining consciousness, Bones finds Spock in sickbay with his brain being replaced by a LeMay beanie. So naturally, he put him on complete life support because, well, aliens stole his brain. I mean, if they're not stealing Neelix's lungs, they're stealing Spock's brain. But what's even more of a marvel is that Spock's brain was taken with some pretty advanced surgery. Everything's sealed off perfectly, he's not bleeding. They left a completely intact body with no brain. So he can run for Congress.
But some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
Kirk figures that the girl who beamed over and knocked them all out is the one who probably stole Spock's brain. After all, she had that smile that said, I'm totally after some brains. Also, it didn't escape my notice that she completely passed up Kirk's brain and went straight for Spock. So Kirk's all, I gotta get Spock's brain back, he's like a third of the show. And the other 2/3 are me. But McCoy's being pretty negative over here. How are you gonna find his brain in this big galaxy? I can't surgically put a brain back in a body.
It was taken out. It can be put back in. But I don't know how.
Well, not with that attitude. Also, Kirk has to find Spock's brain in 24 hours or Spock's toast. And what better way to spend that 24 hours than bickering with the crew about where to look for Spock's brain?
There are 3 Class M planets.
Yes, sir.
Not one of which is capable of launching an interstellar flight.
No, sir.
Yet one of them accomplished it.
They narrow it down to 3 planets, but none of the planets are advanced enough to steal Spock's brain. So they're going with the big glacier planet that happens to be the most primitive of the 3.
Logical. Flawlessly logical.
Also, why are they not wearing winter coats on a glacial planet? Are they looking to catch their death?
You can't go caroling without a scarf. Catch your death.
Suit temperatures are 72.
I'm still calling bullshit on that one. The search for Spock's brain begins with making contact with the local population of hairy-armed cavemen.
It's so easy, a caveman could do it.
And if there's a lesson to be learned here, it's that you always bring a phaser to a rock and stick fight. That's totally not breaking the Prime Directive.
The Prime Directive is not just a set of rules.
Kirk manages to talk to their leader, but apparently there's another group besides the cavemen on this planet, a group that absolutely terrifies them.
The givers of pain and delight.
Do they come for your women as well?
Women?
No wonder you're so angry.
Chekhov finds a place where the others might be, and they start to head over that way.
No! No, you're not going there!
Bones and a non-speaking shell of a Spock beam down for the easiest money Leonard Nimoy has ever made in Star Trek. And Bones is controlling Spock with a remote control. Wait a minute, I've seen this before. Kirk, Spock, Bones and Scotty enter the cave, and Chekhov and the boys get locked outside, where they pass the time. Inside, though, they're off to see the wizard, the wonderful wizard of this weird 60s futuristic cave. Scarecrow needs to get his brain, only to be greeted by this lady who Kirk immediately stuns. He didn't even need to take his shirt off.
You are not Morg or I'm Morg.
Are those one of those new Weird Apple products? This is Luma, one of the locals and presumably part of the others that were previously mentioned. She doesn't know anything about a brain, and to put it mildly, the porch lights are on, but nobody's home.
What is this place?
This place is here.
Fascinating.
Oh good, we got Spock on the communicator. Spock doesn't really know where he is, but he recognizes his old friends and colleagues who start to look for him. Until a familiar face knocks them out again. Now the whole backstory behind this place is revealed throughout the episode, but I'm just gonna summarize it here really quickly. This planet was once home to an advanced civilization until a glacial age rolled in. They built an underground complex for the women to live in safety while the men worked outside. But this led to a male-female schism, which resulted in the men not knowing what a woman is, and the women bringing the men inside every so often to fit them with belts that shock them when they misbehave. But they get hand-fed fruit every so often.
The givers of pain and delight.
And because everything has been provided to the women through the complex, their mental faculties atrophied, and nobody inside really knows much about anything. And that's who just knocked out and captured Kirk and the gang. And they're woken up at the touch of a button, wearing the pain belts. The hot chick who stole Spock's brain is Kara, the leader of the Imorg, or the women. But Kirk's only here for one reason, to get Spock's brain back.
But you were on the Enterprise. I saw you.
We do not know these things you speak of.
You came to my ship.
Well, let's cut the bull, sister.
McCoy stops Kirk from trying to get information out of Kara, saying she probably doesn't even remember and that there's no way she could have performed surgery on Spock. You know, porch lights on, nobody's home. So Kirk decides to try to learn about these women and the complex by talking to them. But the conversation takes a turn for the worst when the controller comes up.
We just want to talk to somebody about Spock's brain, that's all.
Brain and brain! What is brain?
And then Kirk realizes that Spock's brain is running the entire complex. Kara's had enough of Kirk's Shatnering and presses a button to get even more Shatnering out of him.
Pain and delight, he said up above.
Meanwhile,
Merrily, gently down the street.
Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Scotty are being held by the Imorg guards, which are easily overpowered with a little Kirk foo, while Spock mindlessly watches. After Kirk regains contact with Spock, Spock can't understand why they're risking their lives for him, and besides that, McCoy doesn't even have the skills to put his brain back into his body.
Thank you. No denigration intended, Dr. McCoy.
Bones, did you forget what you said a few hours ago?
It can be put back in. But I don't know how.
Now, this does have a similar theme as Star Trek III: The Search for Spock, where the crew risks their lives, their careers, and, in the case of Kirk, his own son, to restore Spock to his body.
Because the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many.
Here, the stakes aren't nearly as high as only Spock's life is on the line, but the crew is still willing to go out of their way for him. Both this episode and Star Trek III illustrate a recurring theme in Star Trek: how much the crew cares for each other. Sure, they're all co-workers, but they're also friends. Of course, when they find where Spock's brain is being kept, in this black box here, Kara finds them and... But despite the pain and through the power of friendship, Kirk is able to keeve on Spock over to Kara to release the pain belts.
We'll all die!
So what is Spock's brain doing here? Well, it was supposed to power this complex for another 10,000 years, basically doing what it was doing in Spock's body, maintaining temperature, breathing, removing waste. Now, as weird as this might be, it is an interesting idea to explore, a building that functions a lot like a body. They're presumably in the head or control and data center. The stomach is likely the kitchen or even an indoor greenhouse where food is grown, and so on. Heck, we've seen a similar concept in living ships in sci-fi, and even in Star Trek. Sure, the episode is a little strange, but at the very least, there are decent ideas to salvage from it. Kara fesses up that she did indeed steal Spock's brain, but she did it with the help of the old knowledge, which she acquired from a hairdryer. So I says to Mabel, I says,
"The need of my people for their controller is greater than your need for your friend."
You know, I mentioned Star Trek 3, but there's a little Wrath of Khan in here as well.
Logic clearly dictates that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Kara refuses to help restore Spock's brain to his body, since that would be betraying her people. So McCoy sticks his head in the hairdryer. "Honey, you're gonna look gorgeous." And the procedure is actually pretty easy.
A child could do it.
Kara is of course upset that they'll all be destroyed, but Kirk assures her that they'll all live, just without the controller. The men and women will just have to learn to work together. Without the pain belts. Meanwhile, surgery is going well. Until McCoy forgets how to doctor.
What am I supposed to do? I can't remember.
Also, how the hell did this make it past the censors?
Did you see that guy? He just gave me the finger.
So McCoy does the best he can with a lot of eyebrow twitching until Spock wakes up and helps him through the rest of surgery.
I could have made 1,000 mistakes. Sealing nerve endings. Joining ganglia.
Well, I mistook a preganglionic fiber for a postganglionic nerve.
But the surgery is a success, and Spock's brain is back where it belongs. Spock goes on a tangent about the planet's history, which I already covered, and McCoy regrets reconnecting his mouth.
Well, we took the risk, Doctor.
And that was the infamous Spock's brain. Yeah, it's not great, but I feel like there are worse episodes in Star Trek. Now, it's worth talking about Season 3 of the show. After 2 seasons, Star Trek was nearly cancelled due to declining ratings. Heck, the final episode of Season 2, Assignment Earth, was a backdoor pilot for a series of the same name. Only nothing came of it. Trek, however, was saved by a massive letter-writing campaign that got the show renewed for a 3rd and ultimately final season. But even though the show was saved, the budget was cut, which resulted in a rather strange season. I mean, even Shatner thought the show got ridiculous. So, from that point of view, Spock's brain isn't so much an outlier as it is one of multiple strange episodes in Season 3. I mean, at least we didn't get Horse Shatner in Spock's brain. Yes, Spock's brain is a goofy episode, and it's not even remotely good. But that's not to say there wasn't a good idea or two in this episode. We do get a precursor to a living ship, and even themes about how men and women need each other, and even the needs of the many. Heck, we even see some of the same themes in better stories in Star Trek. And to its credit, the plot of Spock's brain isn't overcomplicated, and it's reasonably paced. It's a very digestible episode that you can follow easily. But between the hammy acting and the bizarre premise, it's definitely a low point in the show. And yet, I wouldn't consider it to be the worst of the series. It's definitely not And the Children Shall Lead. Now that episode, I consider to be the worst of the original series. Compared to that episode, Spock's brain is fairly harmless and self-contained. I can see why people don't like this episode. It is pretty goofy. But the worst? Probably not. At the very least, it's campy and worth watching with some friends while making snarky comments. It's certainly not enough to lose your brain over.
I shouldn't have done it. What's that? I should have never reconnected his mouth.
So, what do you think? Is Spock's brain really that bad, or is the hype around it overblown? Heck, do you even enjoy this episode for its campiness? And what are some of your least favorite episodes of Star Trek the Original Series? Please, leave comments below and discuss. As always, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Treknalysis. If you like what you see, why not give my video a like and subscribe to my channel? Tell your friends! Until next time...
Brain and brain! What is brain?